Alright, so what is Dirt Farm?
So at the moment, Dirt Farm is a boutique mountain bike park. We have about 13 trails ranging from grade 1 through to grade 6. So we've got anything from your beginners right the way through to pros. What we want it to be is a mountain bike slash dirt riding specific training venue where basically you can come at any level of rider, and there's going to be something here that will allow you to get better and better and better until you're the best you can possibly be. Ideally we'll be catering to anyone from a beginner right the way through to pros and producing some of the world's best riders.
How did you get into mountain bikes then? Because you were a snowboarder, weren't you?
Yeah. I think it was just looking for another sport that you could do that was a little bit more accessible, that you could basically do all year round. And the nice thing about New Zealand is you can do it all year round. We have some good skiing and boarding in New Zealand, but it's never going to be on par with the Northern Hemisphere, and whereas our mountain biking is on par with the Northern Hemisphere, if not in some cases better.
So when did you start building tracks?
So I began digging my first track probably about 2.5 years ago. It took us a wee while to get the first one because I had no idea what I was doing. Finished off the first track, which was toilet bowl, and basically what I thought was finished, and then had a few friends come up, and from there one of those friends, Liam, basically pitched in, and before you know it we'd dug another 3 trails and we were having a bit of a ride session, and then it went a little bit out of control, and over the next couple of years we ended up with our 13 trails that we have at the moment. I think the nice thing about Dirt Farm in comparison to many of the places in New Zealand is we've got a focus on jumps. We have a lot of single trail, some very technical single trail as well, but I guess what we've probably become known for in a region, Wellington, which doesn't really have much in the way of jump features, we've become known as the place where you go to ride jumps. And given that we have some small jumps and some medium jumps and some very large jumps, I think it tends to attract, that higher echelon of rider.
Yeah, true. So when did you open?
So we opened about 2.5 months ago. So we opened February, the start of February 2019. At the moment we're running just ride sessions on the weekend. Eventually what we want to do is scale up and be looking at more how we can encourage and support riders and getting better and better. So looking at things like coaching sessions and group camps, so we start to bring that social aspect of riding in, which is so important to becoming a better and better rider.
Yeah. Has there been a bit of a scene building up then around the Dirt Farm?
Yeah, I think we're starting to get a bit of publicity. I think one of the things that I probably underestimated, and probably it's not my forte, is social media and actually marketing and how you get your name out there. So I think the more we get open, the more people we get through, the more people we get up here enjoying themselves on bikes, the more the word's spreading and the more people we're likely to see through the gates.
What were the biggest challenges in setting up a bike park?
Time and the amount of money. So as an individual with no funding except for what we have in the way of our savings, and having a full-time job, it basically meant that you were up at 5 in the morning, you work through to 8, you go to work, you come home, you jump back on, and you do that 7 days a week. It was basically 2.5 years of just constant work to build a bike park. I think probably time, and like I say, money probably would solve that. If you had someone else writing checks for you, then you wouldn't have to obviously do the work, so you can dig during the day. I think one of the biggest hurdles with trying to achieve what we want to achieve, which is more than just a bike park, which is a place where people can come, can hang out, and through that social interaction basically become better riders, just generally enjoy their time a bit more. Yeah. Is how you actually structure that in a way that actually means that Dirt Farm is open to the public, but also is able to sustain itself. So yeah, that's some of the hurdles, getting those systems in place.
How do you stay motivated doing all of that?
I have no idea. It was exhausting. I think I found it exhausting, but I think my wife probably found it even more exhausting, purely having to deal with someone and support someone and be there and do all the organising, and it was probably a harder job than just going out and digging a trail. So I think I think at the end of the day, you have a dream in your head, and you just basically have to dig for it.
Yeah, because it's a bit of a full family affair, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, the land's owned by my parents. Well, it was originally bought by my parents, and then they subdivided it, and me and my wife, we built a house up here, and basically you know, a lot of the work gets done by the whole family, so a lot of the consenting process that went through the council was done by my mum. A lot of the ground maintenance, the planning, the financial forecasting is all done by my dad. You know, we sit there, we come up with the ideas, and then you know, Karina will be the one who actually implements those and hires people and makes sure the system's in place to make sure people who work up here get paid, and all I have to do is dig.
How did your family react when you kind of mentioned the idea at the start? I
think it's been a growing thing because it didn't just happen overnight. I think it's been something that's actually grown. I think when you've got a block of land and you've kind of got used to it being yours, and you know, being able to do what you like on it, the idea of having large numbers of people coming through and over your land becomes a little bit ominous and daunting. Yeah. But I think the reality is that if you want your home to be sustainable, especially with a block of land as big as this, you have to have some way of generating an income off it to do that. And I think over time, that's basically, we've all jumped on board and realised that that's, you know, something that's a necessity. And now it's just a matter of making sure that it actually works for us as a family and the people who live up here, and also making sure that what we're actually creating is in line with what the dream was.
Yeah, so has it gone as expected?
It's probably not been quite as busy. We're definitely nowhere near at a sustainable level of people coming up here yet, but we're getting there, and I think a lot of that came down to not having the experience in marketing and publicity and social media. So, but it's definitely growing, and so we hope that over time it'll grow into what we need to actually keep the place open.
What are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned?
Do it right, do it the first time, and do it once and do it well. I think one of the things I've learned is, because I didn't know how to dig a mountain bike trail before here, I think a lot of the work we've done has been rework over things, so getting that right. So actually the skills behind actually building a trail, that's been a massive learning curve. I think getting what you think it's going to be clearly outlined beforehand, so that you can actually work out what your requirements are from a legislative point of view. I think that's quite important. We probably hit the ground digging because it has built over time, and I think we probably could have got a lot more support if we'd had a clear idea and communicated that a little bit more clearly.
Like grants and stuff like that.
Yeah, grants, and also making sure that everyone around us is actually aware of what we're doing and what we're trying to achieve, and in terms of neighbours and council and the rest of it. I think that would have actually made our life a lot easier. Our sky burial, our big jump line, that has just been an ongoing project, and it always will be, because it just requires constant tweaking to get it right and make sure that it's evolving in a way that keeps people interested. So,
how did that jump line come about? Because it's pretty much like a pro level, I'd say, in terms of size.
Yeah, Liam, who was up here, me and him were up here with the digger one day, and we were like, oh, let's build a big jump. And we built a big jump, and then we jumped the big jump, and then we were like, should we build another big jump? And we were like, yeah, let's build another big jump. And we jumped that jump, and then we were like, should we build another one? We built that one, and I was like, I'm not jumping that jump. And it just took off from there, and before you know it, you have a trail that's K1.5 long and probably has 17 8+ metre jumps in it. So yeah, just evolved. It all evolved.
Where did your inspiration come from for some of the tracks and features?
I think again, Liam probably summed it up really well when he said that we should make all our trails like video games, like 1980s video games, like Mario Brothers or something like that, where there's something around every corner and every so most of our trails we've kind of aimed to, and still again continuously evolving on them, to aim so that you can be a grade 1 rider and like a beginner / intermediate rider riding a trail, and yet someone who's a pro rider could ride down the exact same trail and have just as much fun.
What are some of the best and worst, maybe start with the worst things of running a bike park? Time.
Yeah. There's never enough time. I think when you've got a bike park, the reality is that it takes time to build that. So I was the idea that it takes 2 years to build a business, well, the reality is with a mountain bike park it takes 2 years to build a mountain bike park, and then it takes 2 years to create a business. And so that entire time, unless you have very deep pockets, you're basically working 2 jobs, and they're 2 quite demanding jobs. I think that's probably the worst part of it, because
Yeah.
it means that you don't actually get to enjoy your creation. Although that said, when you're here and you see people smiling, you're running the shuttles and you're driving the trucks and you see people there having a good time, it does make it worthwhile. It makes it so that you remember why you did it in those moments.
Have there been any kind of unexpected outcomes or like positive things that have come out of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like, since we opened, the amount of support that we've had has been quite amazing. I mean, we've had from the get-go, we've had some very talented cinematographers and photographers and trail builders come up here, and I think the idea that it's something that the Dirt Farm isn't just about riding; it's about supporting creativity. I think means that you end up having things come out of people and being surrounded by creative people, or just creativity in general, because everyone's got it within them. That just comes out in lashings, and that's a lovely thing. And then you look at the people, like we have a local car dealership called HMC Carpety, and the couple who run that have been kind enough to give us a car, and basically we just went in looking for a new car, and before you know it, we come out with a new car for free. And you don't expect things like that to happen. Amazing. So yeah, and it is amazing. Having some of the better riders in the world come up here is really good as well, because again, you get to see that other side of that you wouldn't necessarily see if you just went to a bike park anywhere else.
Yeah.
What
have been some of the craziest things you've seen here?
Oh, there's been a few. I would say a local rider, Garth Morgan, him trying to backflip one of our big step-ups, and it's a very, very large step-up. It's probably 8 to 10 metres tall and probably 8 to 10 metres long, and him trying to backflip it on a brakeless bike, that was interesting. There's been loads. There's been some amazing, phenomenal riders come up here, and but I think some of the nicest things is when you see someone come up who's intermediate rider and probably just begun, and they go down a trail and they come out the bottom and they're kind of they're like, ooh, it's a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be, and you're like, that one feature, and then by the end of the day they're basically able to conquer way more than they probably ever thought they could. And I think that's just all about that social interaction, riding with others, small numbers, basically being pushed just a little bit. So, but also being encouraged to step back when you think you're outside of your comfort zone, and being okay doing that. I think that's quite nice. Seeing that evolution in people's riding in a day is really good. Has
that inspired yourself as a rider as well? Like seeing these people like pro riders and other riders, and
definitely. I think from my personal point of view, I think the idea of seeing a pro rider and then trying to work out what the evolution is for your stock standard rider. Like, how do you get a rider to that point, or how do you just get them better? I think that's the inspiration, is actually seeing what's capable on a bike, but then also having the people around and trying to work out how you can help other people get to that same level, or at least just get better.
Yeah. So you've had some interesting projects happen here as well.
Yep.
Some film and photo ones. I don't know how much you can go into them, but
yeah. We definitely have a few. We've had like I say, we've had a couple of our own films. We've had some of the bigger bike teams come through. We've had a couple of individuals who are quite well known on the international scale come up and film on behalf, and we build things for them, and so basically they come up, they say what their dream line is, and then we build it, and then they film it, and I think that's quite interesting, and it's something that is quite fun to be part of, and it's kind of in the spirit of what Dirt Farm's about, is taking the creativity that's in everyone, whether or not they be a pro or someone else, creating that and creating a bike park that's just full of all sorts of different people's brain dumps, and so your feature that's built by one person will be completely different to a feature that's built by someone else, but they're all in the same spot and they're all rideable by everyone. Yeah.
So what are your plans kind of moving forward then?
So moving forward, at the moment we're looking to how we can actually take Dirt Farm and expand it and turn it into the training facility that we want it to be. So that means, how do we actually get the money to develop the progressive features, things like airbags, filming technology, all sorts of stuff that will just help us to actually put together a place that has the trails and features that will aid people to get better from beginner through Pro, but also then how do we put together the systems and syllabuses that will actually allow us to, and the people to actually allow us to help have someone come up here, say what level they are, and then basically be able to help them progress through to whatever level they want to achieve. So it's creating the places, the things, the people, and then the technology around doing that.
Lots of new tracks planned then.
Lots of new tracks planned, lots of new features planned. Yep, yeah, heaps of stuff on the go.
So what advice would you give to someone wanting to open a bike park, lucky enough to have land or rent it?
Well, I reckon find a sugar mama or sugar daddy and do it that way. It would be a lot easier. We've had a few people come through who are in the process of building parks or want to build parks. And the advice I usually give them is find out what your requirements are for your block of land in regards to legislation and council and stuff like that. I think, again, like I said before, if we'd known what we were going to build, we could have approached it differently, and I think we would have got a lot more support a lot earlier on. Deciding what type of place you want, what type of trails you want to build, by deciding that early, it means you can actually plan out and best utilise your block of land. Get people involved. The more people you can get involved, the easier it is, not just from a physical point of view, but also from a thinking point of view. Like the more brains you have thinking over a problem or contributing to a particular trail, the more varied it's going to be, the more fun it's going to be, and the easier it's going to be on you to actually create. Yeah.
And I guess also get through all the kind of red tape stuff as well.
Yeah, exactly. The red tape, although it seems daunting and it seems like, oh, you could just shortcut it, I think the reality is it's there for a reason. If we had actually started and clearly identified what we wanted to do, which isn't always possible, it wasn't in our case, then I think we would have known what those logistical problems were, which would have helped us to actually develop. I think back when we first started and we dug our first trail, I think when we finally finished it and we decided that was the day we were going to celebrate after a lot of hard work, and we went down riding it, and you spend 3 hours going down a track that's only 1 kilometre long, and that was a great memory. Getting consent, that was obviously a big one. I mean, after battling but after going through the process for a year, getting the bit of paper in your hand that says you can actually operate as a business is always exciting. Yeah,
must have been pretty good for your own progress as well, building some features that you probably were a bit scared of.
Yeah, I think originally, I mean, this is the other thing though, originally I used to ride 3 hours a day, and the reality of working and having a mountain bike park is I haven't ridden a bike in 2 years. That's the reality for anyone looking to do it. I mean, you've just got to persist with it, and eventually it'll come to fruition, and you'll get a chance to see the progressive features and have them actually have an impact on your own riding.
So has the whole process made you think any differently about mountain biking and the mountain bike scene?
I think it's probably made me look at where mountain biking is going, and think a little bit more about how the different genres within dirt riding actually tie in together. You know, you look at dirt jumping, and dirt jumping tends to be you have to give before you receive, whereas in mountain biking it tends to be a little bit more, there are a key few who do a lot of trail development and a lot more who ride, and actually trying to take that mentality from dirt jumping and trying to bring it into mountain biking, because at the end of the day it's socially more rewarding. So if you can encourage people to actually be part of the digging, and I think that's just the way it's evolved over time. There was I think at the same time, if you look at dirt jumping, it's quite exclusive, so if you and it tends to be a little bit it can be a little bit cliquey, purely because obviously you dig with the people that you know, and people tend to stick together in a bunch, so trying to take from that. Whereas with mountain biking, because it doesn't have that necessarily that clickiness, there's a little bit more just general social interaction outside of your group. So I think taking little bits from each of those genres and trying to bring them together and make dirt riding in general just something that's all about, you know, giving a bit to get a bit back, and meeting new people. We've met some amazing people. We've had some, so I think that's the one of the big bonuses, is that, you know, having a place where people can come and ride and they can contribute, and it means that in our lives we always have new and wonderful people coming through, and I think that's one of the nice bits about having in fact it's probably the nicest bit about having a mountain bike park. Yeah,
it must be a good way to meet people.
It's definitely quite a good way to meet people, yeah.
Yeah, kind of any big thanks and stuff you have to
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, I'd like to, I mean, basically everyone who's helped us on the way, whether or not it be Liam originally or Dirt Merchants, which is a shop in Wellington, which kind of gave us our first kind of support by pointing at people in our general direction. Monty Baxter, who has just gone above and beyond to create footage and content for us, and you know, is the mastermind behind some of the productions that and edits we've stuck out. HMC Carpety, obviously, for giving us a ute. You know, support we've had from the council. Some of the representatives in the council have been amazing. Local councillors, local business owners who have lent us equipment, who have been there to teach us skills that we didn't know. I'm thinking about, in particular, Jeff Joins, who's a local fencer who has lent us his post rammer so that we can put in bollards around the place, and then has taught me how to fence. And you know, like there's been so many people who have contributed as we've kind of evolved in different ways that you wouldn't ever think that a mountain bike park would be there to support it. And obviously, a big thanks to the family for like being there the whole way through this. I think over the best part of 2 years, they've been through some pretty big ups and downs, and I think to still be here and we're still working together, that's probably a big, they deserve a massive.
Closer together, do you think?
Yeah, what's that?
Brought you closer together?
Oh, at times, at other times further apart. I think it's like anything. I mean, like I said, we're building the infrastructure and then building a business, and it's a stressful thing to be around. And I think you know, the fact that we are still here and we're still doing it, and we're still doing it as a team, I think is quite amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.